Hello, 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 everybody, one and all. Welcome to yet another very exciting episode of the Friends Talking Fantasy Podcast. My name is Charles, and not with me today, as he usually is my lifelong friend and co-host Dylan. As of the time of this recording, it's the 4th of July weekend. Dylan is unavailable, but today I am proud to say that we have a very special guest. She has been in book clubs for as long as I've known her. She has birthed me. She has raised me. Welcome to the show, my mother. Mother, welcome.
Thank you, Charles. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, this is exciting. She's visiting for the weekend, and I just thought this would be a fun thing to do. And I know you've got a lot of notes here, but yeah, it's a shame Dylan couldn't make it. But you know, he's busy. It's the holidays after all. You've known Dylan for as long as I have, right?
That's right.
Any interesting? What was your impressions of Dylan as a child while he's not here?
Well, my first memories, you boys were in kindergarten together, and you were very adorable, and you hit it off right from the get-go. So the fact that you're at this point in your lives now warms my heart.
Oh.
Dylan is a great, I refer to him as a kid because he's always going to be a little boy to me, but he's grown into a fine man, and I'm tickled that you guys do this together.
Oh, well, that's a very lovely, very motherly thing to say. Thank you. And you heard it here, guys. We weren't lying about all this friendship stuff. It's true. So today we are just going to have a light, fun conversation about books. This will be a book recommendations from my mother. I see that she has some notes here. I have no idea what book she's going to recommend. I told her they didn't strictly have to be fantasy, so I'm excited to see what she's got in the works. Let's not delay any further. Mother, would you like to give us the first book, please?
I would, but before I do,
Okay.
I do want to say that I have been in book groups for probably over 40, over 20 years. And when thinking about things to share and knowing the content of this podcast, I wanted to start with one of the books that is not typically on my books to read. And I read it a number of years ago. The book is called The Sparrow by Mary Doria Russell. And I picked this one first because although not fantasy, it is considered science fiction. And it was published in, I think, 1996, 97. Okay. And my book group read it a number of years ago. But that being said, it has stuck with me all this time. And I recommend it because, not coming from a background of typically choosing fantasy or science fiction.
Yeah, you're not a science fiction fan, typically.
No.
You
And
usually
this
sit
book,
out on the movie nights with sci-fi and stuff like that. So
that's right.
The fact that you're recommending this has my interest.
Yeah, it completely drew me in. And that's the joy of being in book groups, in my opinion. You know, you are typically steered towards things that you wouldn't ordinarily pick. And very seldom am I truly disappointed, but this one was a real surprise to me. And it basically is the story about Jesuits and scientists that are sent into space, and they are going to encounter, well, they're in search of this other dimension. And so it does, because it's Jesuits, it does have kind of a religious connotation, but it speaks about religion in an open, tolerant way. And more than religion, it really is a story of anthropology. And interestingly enough, Mary Doria Russell is an anthropologist. So it talks about both, the anthropology of both humans and aliens that they encounter when they get to their final destination. But anyway, the characters are super complex. They're likable. They're well developed. And they have, the human story is throughout this book. There's loss, there's chance for redemption, there's struggle to survive, and how you continue to grow as a human as you go through your life. But anyway, the bottom line is at the end is that it speaks to that age-old idea that the one thing you can count on is things are going to go wrong, and it's not the mistakes that matter, but what you avoid by learning better is one of the quotes they used, and I thought that kind of summed it up. But super surprisingly great story, and for somebody like me who's not typically in that genre as a top pick was, and it's stood the test of time. It's still read, fairly. You see it come up all the time is what I'm trying to say. So anyway, that was my first one. The Sparrow by Mary Doria Russell.
The Sparrow. I see there's how much of I see that religion is a piece of this, and that these are all these diplomats, and then there's some sort of religious group that's involved. How much of a theme does religion play in the book? Is it pretty prominent?
Well, it is, but it's presented in a way that's open and tolerant. It was the best way to describe it. So, and Mary Doria Russell actually was raised a Catholic, and Jesuit is a spinoff of, or a derivative of, Catholicism. It's a group of Catholic priests. Anyway, she was a practicing Catholic early in her life, and she became, she disengaged herself from the church. And when she had her first child, and she was pondering the questions of morality and how she wanted her child obviously to be brought up as a as a moral,
a morally conscious individual.
Exactly. And so she struggled with this. And I think, this is kind of a reflection of how she actually then converted to Judaism. She felt like that was a better fit for her.
So she went on like a spiritual journey and tried a whole bunch of religions.
Yeah. She, I don't know a tremendous amount about her, but I just remember, in a book group, you always go back and kind of take a look at the authors and try to,
Sure, get their
story,
their inspiration, where they're coming from.
Exactly. But, and she, did I mention she's an anthropologist by background?
No, I see here it's paleoanthropology, which according to Google is the study of the early development of anatomically modern humans. So I guess this evolution and things like that, early stages of evolution in humanity. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep. So
The Sparrow.
It's a great story. It's really, the characters are complex. I thought they were really well developed, and you grow to like and care about these people, which I really appreciate in a book.
Yeah, we're very character, we prioritize character almost above all else on this show. I know Dylan, he'd be championing that as well if he was here. Yeah. And that's exciting. The Sparrow by Mary Doria Russell. And while you were pitching that one, it reminded me of something I wanted to say earlier. Just also, not only have you been in book groups for a long time, but I remember being, in my room as a child, and you came up to me and you were like, there's this book that I found that I think you'd like. It's called Harry Potter. You know,
That's
you were
right.
one of the first people to champion.
Yeah.
You were the first person that ever said the words Harry Potter, at least to me.
Yeah.
And you were championing it right at the first book.
Yeah.
You were on the pulse of it.
Yeah.
So you guys got to listen very clearly here because we know what we're talking about.
Yeah. It's funny you bring that up because I remember we used to read to you guys at night, and I think you guys were read to much longer than your average child would be read to.
Okay.
And the reason for that was, your dad and I both come from strong backgrounds in reading and prioritizing books, and one of the best ways to kind of wind down at the end of the day, and from the time you were newborns, it was reading. And so I hated to give that up. It was just such a special time with you guys at the end of the day. And so when I stumbled upon Harry Potter before it was a thing anybody knew about, your dad wanted to be the one to read out loud to you guys. And at the end of the day, he'd read, and you'd all ask for, can we have one more chapter? Can we have one more chapter?
Yeah.
And when the book was all finished, when the first book, it was only one book that was out at the time.
Right.
And
I was 6 years old at the time.
that's right.
97.
That's right. And when the final chapter was read, I'll never forget your dad looking at me and saying, "Is there anything else by this author we could read?" And it was it was a little glimpse into the times to come with good old Harry Potter. And over the years, I remember going to the Barnes and Noble, midnight release of the next book. Do you remember doing that?
Yeah.
I would take you and we'd
I
have to
remember
dress
them in that
up, and they'd have
release
prizes.
party. They were big productions at Barnes and Noble.
Yeah.
And we got to meet J.K. Rowling at a book signing, way back in like 99 or 2000 or something like that.
Yeah, I think our first couple of hardback. I don't know at what point she was in the writing of them when we met her.
First three, I think
First
we
three.
have signed. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, originals.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what's the next book you have cooking?
Well, let's see which one. I think the next one that I really, it's a little more recent read for me. I think I read it maybe a year ago. It's called The Heart's Invisible Furies by John Boyne, Boyne.
The Heart's Invisible Furies.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a story that takes place in Ireland from the 1940s through the present, and it's and the story is told through the eyes of one man. And basically, the story is about the redemptive power of the human spirit. And it's a very emotional read. And so if you're not into that, you probably won't love it. But this book made me both laugh and cry. I was completely invested in the characters. It was so well written, and the characters are just such eclectic group. And I was really sorry when the story was over.
Oh.
So that's why I recommend that one. It's about 582 pages, but don't be deterred by that.
By fantasy standards, that's not so bad.
Oh, okay, good.
It's long, but not impossible.
That was just a book that left my heart singing,
Wow.
and it really, I don't know. I was sorry when it was over.
Wow.
That's why I recommend that one.
That's good. I know Dylan particularly loves going through emotional turmoil when he's reading a story, so I think he would enjoy that. He's been trying to get me to read a story that will have me sobbing for a long time, so as soon as he finds out about this, he's
he better
gonna be
jump on
pushing
it.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it.
So it's a work of fiction, but it's not sci-fi or fantasy, right? It's just a recent read of fiction that spoke very strongly.
Yep.
Oh, very cool.
Yep. Yes. So, and I liked it because it had it did start out in Ireland, and I'm always my heritage is half Irish, so which leads me to the other book that kind of piggybacked off of this one.
Sure.
And it's a true story, and it's called Say Nothing. A true story of modern of Murder and Mystery in Northern Ireland. And that's written by Patrick Radden Keefe.
Got it.
And why I'm mentioning this one right after that one, both Ireland stories, but this one, based in Ireland, but this one taught me a lot. I grew up in the era where there was that bitter conflict in Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
And it always was like a backdrop. And at one point, I don't know if you know this, but you might remember it, I was on the no-fly list.
Yeah, I remember that.
Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And it was somebody that had my name in Northern Ireland.
As part of the IRA.
Yeah. And for years, we couldn't go anywhere. We'd be all as a family, and they'd pull me out of the line. And I'd have to go and prove I wasn't this other Rosemary McLaughlin.
Yeah.
It was nuts. But anyway, so this book I recommend because if you want a true story, true crime, true whatever, it starts in 1969 and it takes you right through the Good Friday Agreement of 1998.
Okay.
And it's done with like this intimate storytelling. There's a mother. The story opens up, a mother, Jean McConville, and she's forcibly taken in 1972. Mm-hmm. She's accused of being a paid informant for the British Army. Mm-hmm. And they, to this day, of course, hold the IRA responsible for her disappearance. But the story is, it's like this intimate storytelling based on her being abducted, mm-hmm. and it takes you right through, mm-hmm. and it's riveting. It's a very good read.
Wow. I see that the author, Patrick Radden Keefe, is a staff writer at The New Yorker and has also written in the New York Times Magazine and a bunch of other important works, what's the word?
Yeah.
Magazines that are prestigious, right. Taken seriously. You need right. to do a lot of research to be able to publish an article, so it speaks to
the book did read the National Book Award. I think it was a finalist. I don't know that it won necessarily, and it was also a National Book Critics Circle pick. It was nominated for a lot of things. Wow. And I don't know, does it say what year it was? It was relatively recently.
I believe it does. Published in 2019.
Okay.
So
those are my Irish
who doesn't
books.
love a good true crime story?
That's right.
Say Nothing by Patrick Radden Keefe, and then we were talking about The Heart's Invisible Furies by John Boyne.
Yeah, that's the emotional one.
Yes, the emotional one, and then the true crime
story
one.
Right.
Great.
Kind of riveting, and you learn a lot. If you ever had any questions about that period of time, and it really did overshadow world news in tons of ways during that period of 1969 to 1998. So it's quite a few years. Mm-hmm. Quite a few years.
Indeed. So where are we going next? What is the next recommendation?
I thought we'd talk a little bit about women's literature.
Great
because
idea.
In a book group, the 2020 Women's Prize for Fiction was a book called Hamnet, Hamnet, written by Maggie O'Farrell.
Hamnet.
Yep. And the fascinating thing about there's a lot of fascinating things about this story, but not the least of which is it focuses on the Black Death of the 1500s. And so with the current pandemic, it was kind of like, this is a timely read. I'm sure the author didn't intend for that, but it just happened to be.
It published in March 2020, so there's no way it could have.
Right, exactly. But it's really quite an imaginative work of historical fiction. So if you look about Maggie O'Farrell and you look back about why, she wanted to write this story, she was always fascinated by Shakespeare's youngest son, who factually did die at the age of 11, but there's not a lot known about it. So she kind of created this story around it, and it really talks about it's really quite deep and very lyrical.
It's inspired by Shakespeare in the way that it's both the subject and how it's written?
Yes. And so, you can't say it's factual because nobody knows a lot. It's kind of, she wanted to go back and kind of make a story about and filling in the blanks.
It's historical fiction.
Mm-hmm, and in doing that, she tells a really very moving, heartfelt. You learn a lot about Shakespeare's wife and what it's, the unthinkable of losing a child, and how you have to go on after having, I can't think of a worse thing to happen to you in life. So anyway, it's written so beautifully, and it's so, to say it's heartfelt is kind of like lame, but that's what it is. Right. And so that's why I recommend that.
So is Shakespeare like a character in this story?
Yes, he is. But she never calls him Shakespeare, ever. Oh. She never calls him that. He's
called William?
Yes, I think he goes by William. And
okay.
and it's fascinating because you meet him as a young boy and how he falls in love with his real, she uses the name of Shakespeare's real wife. And she's an interesting character, and it really is more about her. Well, I shouldn't say more. It's probably equally about her as it is about...
Right, they're both main characters.
Yeah, but he's almost secondary. But he's like a great supporting character in this book. I would give him...
That's kind of fun.
Yeah, I would give him best supporting role. And it ends in a way that the story ends so beautifully that you're kind of, your heart is just really warmed at the end, because it's, like I said, nothing's, the unthinkable of losing a child. And so for it to end on such a beautiful note. And like I said, it won the 2020 Women's Prize for Fiction.
Right. I also have a list of awards here. New York Times Notable Book for 2020. Then it was the Best Book of 2020 in The Guardian, The Financial Times, Literary Hub, NPR. Mm-hmm. So it definitely was very well praised by critics.
And so to piggyback with that is another true story that has to do with women called The Woman Who Smashed Code, a true story of love, spies, and the unlikely heroine who outwitted America.
Oh, The Woman Who Smashed Codes.
Mm-hmm.
Exciting.
Boy, that was riveting, and, had me, you couldn't put it, it's like up all night trying to get to the finish line with this one. It was really, I thought I silenced this. I'm sorry about the dinging.
Okay. It's okay. First podcast, you gotta learn things like muting the phones.
Never done a podcast. Might I add at this point, I'm a huge fan of podcasts.
Yeah, that's true.
I think they serve an incredible role and benefit.
Yeah.
And anybody who doesn't listen to podcasts is missing out.
It's true. It's a very fast-growing medium, and it has been for a long time.
And can I tell you, I've been doing this for years, too, listening to podcasts. Yeah. So imagine my surprise and delight when you started your very own.
I know. Well, thank you.
And it's so well done. I'm just
you.
No shame. I have no shame. It's a great podcast you boys are doing.
It's an endorsement from my mother, everybody.
Absolutely.
So that's how you know it's good.
Exactly.
So
okay.
We got the phone on silent. We are sitting at my kitchen table, by the way, so there might be all kinds of noises and activities going on, but that's no worries. It's
it's the 4th of July.
It's the 4th of July. We're making it work, and it adds to the charm, I think.
Absolutely.
And we are talking The Woman Who Smashed Codes by Jason Bagone. And I see the author here is like a columnist in science, sports, and culture for all kinds of popular magazines. Wired, GQ, Esquire, New York Times Magazine, The Atlantic, Philadelphia. So an accomplished sports writer that has gone on to write is it like a spy?
Yes, it is. It's all about being a spy.
Nice.
You learn a lot about being a spy.
There you go. And during World War II.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that movie, the one where the guy cracks the codes in England. You know the one I'm talking about.
I'm trying to think.
It was oh gosh, sorry everybody, but it was a World War II movie where the guy was it like a beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, it's coming to me.
World War II, and it was with that actor.
With that actor.
Yeah.
You know that actor.
Yeah, World War II Codebreaker movie. I'll think about it and
It'll come to us.
I'll say it when I figure it out. I'm gonna Google furiously while you tell me about the woman who smashed codes.
Yeah, it was. I don't.
The Imitation Game.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
Game.
I don't like I don't like scary things. I don't like violence. I don't like as I'm reading it, I'm almost afraid, because is this going to be violent? Is this going to be scary? And there was a lot. But that's me saying that, the person that can't tolerate a drop of it.
Right.
So, but it wasn't so bad that I didn't want to know the story. And she was amazing. It was, and it's totally out of the realm of anything that I would ever know about. So it was, it was educational. It was good. And I don't know if you remember, but a few years ago, maybe it wasn't you I took. No, you would have been on your own. But they had, downtown Manhattan, they had a spy exhibit.
Oh, no, I've never been.
It was it's one of those things where it moved through town. It was only there for a limited engagement. And you got to see all kinds of spy equipment and read spy stories, little
spy
blurbs.
History over the years.
Yeah, spy history, yeah.
Yeah, exciting.
Yeah, and what makes a spy a good spy.
Right.
And she was a very good spy. Oh, she was real. And the things that she would do, yikes.
Interesting.
Oh, man. She was fearless.
Yeah, I've never heard of this person. What's the name of this?
Yeah, what's the woman's name?
Yeah, the woman's name.
Oh, my gosh. What was her name?
Oh, Elizabeth Smith.
Yes.
Never heard of her. But it sounds like a really interesting story. I mean, I remember we watched The Imitation Game together. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
I wonder.
What year did that come out? That was
The
a long
Imitation
time
Game
ago.
was 2015.
I thought it was longer than that. God bless you.
Yeah.
That's okay.
So
People
that's
sneeze.
6 years ago. Yeah, but it's another movie, but this was about a guy who was gay that was cracking the code, and he broke the code, but then the UK tried to, bury him in history, and it was an interesting story.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what the comparisons are, and if they were working at the same time. I guess they were, but she's in the US and he was in the UK, so. Well,
I'm looking to see if there was anything.
Very interesting. Always love a good spy novel and historical novel, and World War II. Always an exciting time. So we have time for a few more books here.
We do.
So what's next on
your
list?
Let's see. Oh, I know a one I really liked. It's called Pachinko.
Pachinko.
By
like
Min Jin Lee.
Okay, Pachinko book.
It was written in 2017, and it's a historical family saga set in Korea and Japan through the 20th century. And it follows 4 generations of a Korean family through the political turmoil of the Japanese colonization. And so this was another one of a period of time that I wasn't, you read about it in history books or whatever, but I didn't know a lot about it. And it was super fascinating with really great characterizations again. It takes you to another place in time and provides you with this learning experience of the whole Japanese occupation of Korea from 1910 through World War II. And all the the backdrop with the family sacrifices and the resilience,
right.
that, that's required, and the outcome of choices that you make. It's a long book, but it is fascinating and it is engrossing. And then you look at what, then you go, why did she name the book Pachinko?
Yeah.
And do you know what a pachinko is?
Yeah, it's like it's a game that you gamble on.
Exactly. It's a cross between and I didn't know this. When I was reading the book, I had to go back and look because I was fascinated.
I don't know how to play or anything, but I've seen it.
And they've got pictures of it.
Know of it, yeah.
People playing it. It's a cross between a slot machine and a pinball machine, and there is gambling involved.
Right.
So, this family, this is what they did. This was their livelihood. They ran pachinko halls or whatever they called them, and but if you want to have an idea of what it was like to be a Korean family when all this was going on, all this turmoil, this book did a phenomenal job of that. It was so well written, and like I said, it takes you to a place in time, that I didn't know anything about, other than know that it happened.
Uh-huh.
So that's why I recommended that one. That's another one that kind of stuck with me.
The author, Min Jin Lee, seems like a really interesting individual. She, went to Yale, was very successful there, then Georgetown, and was a lawyer in New York before moving to Korea to research and write this book for 4 years.
Yeah.
She lived in Tokyo and wrote Pachinko, and then she lives in New York now. So she seems like a very, smart, accomplished author who did 4 years of research. So
yeah,
I'm sure it's excellent.
Super. Like I said, if you're into any kind of a saga where you really want to be engrossed for how many pages? It's is it a 600-page read or something?
496 pages,
yeah.
according to Goodreads.
Yeah.
The Kindle edition. But yeah, that's interesting. I didn't realize how much you like historical fiction.
Well, yeah, don't get me wrong. I read a lot of, not such literary works just to entertain myself. But, when you're involved in a book group, you want to have something that,
Right. Award-winning literature.
Well, just something that's good for discussion.
Yeah.
And all of these books that I've recommended here today are excellent books for discussion.
Mm-hmm. Were a lot of these book group books?
All of these were book group books.
There you go.
I didn't share any of my fluff. Anybody can go to the summer beach read section and pick out books like that. Books that stay with me, books that spoke to me.
Okay.
Books that really impacted me are the ones that I am sharing with you here
nice.
Today.
For a long career of reading, so these are the highlights.
Yeah, these are the ones that, I've taken, except for The Sparrow. I read that a long time ago, but all these others, and I haven't, there's quite a few others that, did I mention Say Nothing?
I don't think
I did. Didn't I? Yeah, Say Nothing was the other. Oh, yeah. I did.
Keith.
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
But the other thing I could mention that's a little off of the books I've been talking about is a book called Why They Stay.
Why They Stay.
Mm-hmm. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because the author is in my book group, Anne Mashad. And that book has recently been revised. As of within the last couple months, the second edition of that book has come out. And basically, she writes about political wives and why they stayed with their spouses. Because we all know there's tabloid information about almost every president, it's mostly political figures. I think they're all political figures, to be honest with you.
It says political wives.
Yeah, political. That's what it is. Yeah. I'm trying to think, did she include anybody else that wasn't political? But no, they were all. And they're all...
9 political wives profiled in the book.
Yeah. And she did a great job with the research. It was, it's a... it's a really I don't know exactly how to explain it. Like I said, she did a great job with the research and
Oh yeah, and I see the author, Anne Michaud, is a political journalist. She's a reporter for the Wall Street Journal.
Mm-hmm.
She's won more than 25 writing and reporting awards, including Columnist of the Year by New York News, Publishers Association. I mean, it just goes on, and she's written in everything. LA Times, Boston Globe, Newsday, Newsweek. It just keeps going. So,
and she's a member of one of my book groups,
nice.
And a lovely person.
Nice. That's exciting.
In addition to all her, professional accolades.
Nice. You got to connect.
So I figured, you're asking me.
So
books I would recommend. I would recommend that.
Did they read her own book in the book club?
Yes, we did. Nice. We did. We read her book. Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, we read
her book. And what was it like discussing a book with the author in the room? Was it?
Well, good thing we all liked it.
Yeah, that's true.
That helped.
Yeah, so, that helps.
Yeah, it helps a lot. Yeah, but she, like I said, she researches it beautifully, and she's a great writer. It was an informative read. Mm-hmm. And if you have any kind of interest in political / women's, issues,
sure,
it's the perfect read.
Wow.
So,
yeah. Why They Stay,
yeah,
by Anne Michaud.
She documents all her sources, and everything's footnoted.
Oh yeah, I mean, she's an experienced, award-winning political journalist, so I'm sure she's got all her ducks in a row research-wise.
That's right. And the nice thing is, it just came out in a revised form, and she added not Ivanka.
Oh, Melania?
Melania Trump, yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool.
So, if you're interested in the behind-the-scenes
story there, keep updating it as the scandals roll in, I guess.
I guess. But anyway, she
Interesting. And are there, no need to spoil anything, but was she able to make some interesting connections across these 9 individuals?
Absolutely. I won't spoiler alert it, but she definitely has a theory that connects it all, and that's what really makes the book, come together and makes the book, notable, in my opinion, is that she does do that.
So,
and I won't spoil it for you.
Does she talk to anyone else besides political people? Does she get psychologists involved or something like that? Doctors?
No, I don't think. I can't remember off the top of my head what her sources are. That would be a good thing to know.
I'm sure she'll cite them when she does.
Oh, she absolutely does. She has footnotes throughout it. I know her as a person, so I was trusting.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
It wasn't, but yes, I'm sure she. And the 9 couples that she has are Eleanor and FDR, Jackie and JFK, Hillary and Bill Clinton, Wendy and David. Vitter, Style Wall, and Elliot Spitzer, and Huma Abedin and Anthony Weiner. But she goes way back too. She takes some from out of the country, like Jeremy Thorpe from Britain, and so anyway, some of them were rising political stars, and then scandals got them into hot water. Yeah,
I'm sure Dylan, as a studying PhD candidate in psychology, would be very interested in the question why they stay.
Yeah,
and would get a kick out of it.
Yeah.
So we'll keep that one in mind for him if he's listening. You should write this one down. Why They Stay, and Michaud. I think we have time for at least one more.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Let's see. What should I...
mean, how far have we gone in your notes so far?
We've done pretty good. Okay. I mean, there's... I don't know. There's a couple. Iron Lake was a good one.
Iron Lake?
Yeah. And I believe... let me go back and see.
The author?
Yeah.
William Kent Kruger?
Yeah,
Okay.
and there's something significant about him that it's escaping me right this minute. Did he recently die?
I have no idea.
He's a prolific author himself.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know what? I think this was a series of books. This is a mystery.
Okay.
And he meaning the author, William Kent Kruger, joined the ranks of today's best suspense novelists with this thrilling and universally acclaimed debut. So that's what this book was
and
noted
he's still
for.
alive. He's 70 years old.
Okay, good. And the thing about this was this spun off into a series. So if you like this one...
Yeah, it says Cork O'Connor #1.
I'm sorry?
The
Yes.
series is called Cork
Okay.
O'Connor, which I guess is one of the characters.
Yep.
Suspense novelists. Okay. So this is your first thriller book that you're recommending today, right?
So I figured because the other author I love for suspense is Louise Penny.
Okay.
I love her books. But anyway, in our book group, we did read Iron Lake, and it was a good story.
Now,
but Louise Penny happens to be one of my favorite.
Before we talk about Louise Penny and
Yeah.
Iron Lake, Cork O'Connor, I know you enjoy a good murder mystery every now and then, but you had even mentioned earlier that sometimes you get nervous that a book's going to be too intense.
Yeah, this one is not.
So it was able to be suspenseful and thrilling, but it didn't, turn you off with any of its action or anything like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. And that's Iron Lake by Iron Lake by William Kent Kruger. The series is called Cork O'Connor. It's the first book.
Yeah, I like that one.
Okay. And then Louise Penny.
Yeah, Louise Penny, if we're talking about...
Sure.
Oh my goodness. The research that she does before she picks the kind of topic that you learn so much in her books. And
so they're thriller
they're
mystery
thrillers,
books.
They're mysteries. They're smart.
Researched.
They're super smart, in my opinion. And the characters are so well done that you look forward to her next book coming out because you get to visit with these people again.
Mm-hmm.
And she has an uncanny ability to surround the story, whatever the story, the mystery is going to be, where you learn a ton of stuff. Like her research to do the story is incredible. And yet the characters move on and develop as the books progress. Okay. And like I said, it's like getting together with people you've missed. Yeah. And you can hardly wait.
So it's like she's written a series of books with the same characters, and they grow and change.
Yeah, they take place in this fictitious town. I believe it's in Quebec. Okay. They're set in.
So the first book would be Still Life?
Yes. Okay. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. And if you're interested in listening to a story, listening to the books, this is the one series I listen to because the reader has won every award for Audible book. I apparently there's a whole I don't know what you call it, but you know how you have Tony Awards for plays and Oscars for movies.
An award-winning narrator.
Yes, award-winning narrator, and I associate him now. I want him to tell me the story and only
narrated by Ralph Kosham, Kosham.
Well, is that the most recent one? Because what happened was the original one died.
Release date 2014. I don't know.
I forget at what point in the series the award-winning narrator died, but it was like losing a member of my family. I'm oh no.
Yeah, Ralph Kosham died in 2014.
Okay.
British-born American film, stage, and voice actor and book narrator. Yeah, this is probably him because he's got the credit for the first book.
Yeah. And the person they replaced him with, although it took me a book or two to,
Several works were awarded Audio Best of the Year by Publishers Weekly.
What
Publishers Weekly Audio Best of the Year was the award that he won.
And then the new narrator that's taken over is really good. They went to a lot of trouble to pick just the right person to replace him. And I have to say, I wasn't that far into the first book he narrated that I was okay. I thought, good job,
nice,
good job.
Nice.
It's unfortunate,
big shoes to fill, but
yeah, exactly,
good job.
Exactly, but well done.
It's an audiobook recommendation for Still Life by Louise Penny.
Yeah, if you want to be able to
just enjoy an audiobook. We're big audiobook fans here.
Well, I would highly recommend this series as an audio.
Nice. And it's a thriller? Or it's like a mystery?
No, I would not call them thrillers. I would call them
mystery?
Intellectual mysteries.
Intellectual mysteries.
I really would.
Fancy.
I think they're smart. I think they're super smart.
Historical fiction, intellectual fantasy. We get it. You're
you
smart.
learn a lot when she'll delve into a storyline that by the time the mystery's over, you really understand a lot about the storyline in addition to the mystery. Smart. Very smart.
Well-researched mystery novel series.
And she's won a lot of awards too, I think, right? She's won Edgar Awards.
Louise Penny.
Yeah, that's the award.
Number one New York Times bestselling author. Numerous awards.
Yeah.
Including the CWA Dagger and the Agatha Award 5 times. Okay.
Yeah.
Edgar Award for Best Novel.
Yep, first novel is the Edgar Award. Yeah, she's won all the mystery awards.
All right.
And the murders are never, gruesome or... I mean, you know what they are.
Did you ever solve one of the mysteries before the reveal?
No, that's a good question because somebody who's written that many, they can become
can understand their formula over their time.
Yeah. And you do not get that. You know what? Now that you say that, that's what makes her amazing.
Because with mysteries, there's a lot of pressure to deliver on the reveal and the payoff, and some people experience with mystery stories can sometimes puzzle it out. It's like The Office where Dwight's like, I'm going for the person I most medium suspect. Yeah. Because there's the person that's like obviously super suspicious but is like the red herring. Yeah, and the people that are too innocent. So
yep. No, she does not do any of those annoying things at all.
Right.
Now that I never thought of it like that, but
like Scooby-Doo where you can figure out who the person is, but that's a show for kids that has like 100 episodes.
That's right. That's right. Just fill in that blank. No,
well, that's exciting.
No, that's what I think that's what makes her so special. Now that
there's some authors that we've read like that where it's like such a hard thing to do, but when they can pay off like twists and reveals or mystery resolutions really well, that's a reading experience that is just incredible. Anytime you can get it, so Still Life.
And then of course there's always the book that has the movie. The book and the movie, and that was one I read this year. The News of the World
is the book.
Yeah, it's the name of the book.
We're talking about a new book, News of the World.
And you know who starred in it? Tom Hanks.
Oh, I've seen the trailer. This was like a movie that came out like right at the beginning of the shutdown and was lost to time. I don't even know where to watch this thing.
I have not watched the movie yet, but the book was very good. And this is a quick story. It's not that long, but
it says 209 pages.
Paulette Giles, I guess.
Yes,
is the author. Very good. In the aftermath of the Civil War, an aging itinerant news reader, which was so fascinating. That's how people got the news. They travel throughout these areas and read the local news to people.
Right,
and then they get tipped. Yep. Well, anyway, he agrees to transport a young captive of the Kiowa Indian tribe back to her people. And it's a morally, describe it as morally complex, multi-layered novel of historical fiction.
We love moral complexity here.
Yep. Yep.
A lot of
that
our favorite authors
explores the boundaries
explore the
of
same thing.
family, responsibility, honor, and trust.
Wow.
Yep.
Those are some big themes.
Those are some big ones.
And now you've got Tom Hanks.
And now you got Tom Hanks. Yep.
Wow. That's exciting.
Yep.
I gotta see what happened to that movie.
Here's a nice quote. It says, "Maybe life is just carrying news, surviving to carry the news. Maybe we have just one message, and it is delivered to us when we are born, and we're never sure what it says. It may have nothing to do with us personally, but it must be carried by hand through a life all the way, and at the end handed over, sealed."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It was a very good story. Good story.
Wow. I think actually that movie is I think it's streaming on Netflix.
Is it streaming on Netflix?
Don't
there
quote
you
me
go.
on that. Oh, maybe not. Maybe not.
And Tom Hanks, he had the appearance of wisdom and age and authority, which was why his readings were popular and the reason why the dime rang into his coffee can. That's how he would collect his money.
Oh.
He'd have a coffee. Well, and then the girl that he is transporting has to, stop along the way because he's still doing his job, and he's got her. And at one point, she's in charge of his coffee can. Anyway,
cool.
I haven't thought about this book. I read it maybe a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And as I think about it, I'm remembering just how much I did like it.
Wow. Well, it's not streaming on Netflix as of right now in the U.S., but, it is available to rent. So maybe we'll check it out.
Yeah.
But
or read the book and wait for it to stream.
That's right.
In the meantime.
That's right. But I don't know. Tom Hanks. He's fantastic. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've done it. Several book recommendations from my mother. This was a lot of fun, and we got to break the mold a little bit. We had some historical fiction, some book club books, some thrillers, science fiction, all these good things. And it's the morning of 4th of July, so we're gonna go prepare for our barbecue now. We're gonna have some people over. It's gonna be a good time. But Mother, thank you for being on the show, for filling in for Dylan. Big shoes to fill, much like that audiobook narrator, but you did a fantastic job. And I'm excited to share this and your recommendations with the people. So,
well, thank you for having me. And if there's anybody's shoes that I'm happy to fill, it would be Dylan's.
Yeah, that's well said. I'm sure he's very appreciative. I think I'm going to surprise him with this. I haven't told him yet. When he asks, I just think I'll say wait and see, because I don't think he'll ever guess. But he'll be pleasantly surprised. So,
well, thank you for having me.
Of course. I'm going to go ahead and do all my outro stuff now, but thank you.
You're welcome, you're welcome.
All right, everybody. Thank you for listening to yet another very exciting episode of the Friends Talking Fantasy podcast, or I guess Family Talking Fantasy today. My name is Charles, and filling in for Dylan was my mother. If you like what you heard today, reach out to us on Twitter at the FTF Podcast with number 1 at the end, or on Instagram at the FTF Podcast. And if you want to listen to the show even further beyond social media, and you just so happen to be listening on Apple Podcasts, I'm going to fill in for Dylan's portion here, and I'm going to say toss 5 stars to our podcast, guys. Just search for the Friends Talking Fantasy Podcast on Apple Podcasts. Scroll all the way down to the bottom, hit that review, leave 5 stars. If you have a little extra time, we would love if you would write some kind words down there in the review portion as well. It's always super helpful to have your support. Every review matters, so thank you. And as always, guys, just listening is truly incredible. Thank you for that, and go forth and conquer, friends.